Hello, my beautiful people, and hello, my perfume lovers. Thanks for tuning in. Welcome to my channel. I'm super happy and glad as always, of course, because I enjoy having you guys here. And of course, I enjoy talking about fragrances. And if you're new here on this channel, I talk about fragrances, perfumes, all types of fragrances, actually, Middle Eastern fragrances, dupes, and niche fragrances, designer, you name it. So if this sounds like something you're interested in into it, then please consider subscribing. I would really appreciate it as well so you don't miss new upcoming content. And yes, in today's video, I'm going to talk about a niche fragrance actually, Red Tobacco by MANCERA. And this is a very much hyped fragrance actually. I've seen a lot of reviews on TikTok, a lot of videos, and also on YouTube, Instagram, wherever. This fragrance just kind of follows me everywhere I go, I feel like. And I felt like, okay, let's pull the trigger and make a video because I actually have a tester here with me. I don't have the bottle because usually I also enjoy to talk about the presentation and the bottle, but I don't have it here. What really actually matters is the scent. And yes, let's get started. So the first thing actually, this is, as I said, very much hyped. And from the note structure, this seems like something I would really enjoy. So I give it a whole wear test. I wear it on my, I wear it and I also combined it, layered with other fragrances, but I'm going to talk about that later. So let's start actually with the notes. But before I do so, let me give an extra sprayer on the hands. So yeah, to be quite honest, in the opening, I don't enjoy it at all. To me, it's super sharp, kind of boozy, very intense. You get a blast of patchouli, which I usually like, but I feel like with that fragrance, in my opinion, to enjoy it, you need to let it sit for a second. So let me talk about the notes meanwhile. You have oud in here, you have apple, you have a nutmeg in here, you have saffron, incense, jasmine, then you have, of course, the patchouli, which I mentioned already, and this is a very patchouli dominant fragrance. You also have the tobacco in here, of course, because the name Red Tobacco, vanilla. You have musk, amber, and woods. You have also the vetiver, so a lot of beautiful notes actually. I mean, I'm a big fan of vetiver, I'm a big fan of tobacco. Of course, I'm a big fan of saffron, I'm a big fan of oud as well. So a lot of great notes. The thing is, in the opening, I don't like it at all. I remember the first time when I smelled that, I was like, no way. This can't be like the most hyped or one of the most hyped fragrances right now. Like there's just no way. But as I said, let it sit for 5 minutes and I did so, and let me actually smell. So what actually happens is in the first seconds, in the first minute, it's very sharp, very incensey, very kind of ashy as well. And the patchouli you get, very earthy. And then by the time actually, when it dries down a little bit, when you let settle and let the notes work through, you get an apple note. And as far as I know, there is actually green apple listed in here. I don't get green apple. To me, this smells like a red baked apple, like this has slightly like Christmassy vibes with cinnamon, but instead of the cinnamon, you actually have nutmeg because you do get the nutmeg, which makes it very spicy as well. So think of baked red apples, spices on top, some saffron, but the saffron is very much in the background. Usually, for example, if you know Baccarat Rouge 540, which is a very saffron dominant fragrance, or Instant Crush also by MANCERA, which I have in my collection, then you know like this is saffron in the opening, very dominating. Here, the saffron is very much in the background. So you do get also the white peach, which is the next thing actually. Like if I would have smelled it just like this without knowing the notes, I wouldn't think of peach. But actually after reading the notes, I'm like, okay, there's definitely some peach in here, but the fruity touch you get is actually from the apple. Then, as I already said, the patchouli, you definitely get the tobacco, so you do have to like that. But it's nothing like, for example, Tobacco Vanille by Tom Ford. Like Tobacco Vanille is very sweet, um, and the tobacco is slightly different. Here, I feel like the main character, even though it's called Red Tobacco, is the patchouli. Definitely you get the oud, but it's not really like a skanky oud. It's very refined, perfect like for the Western noses, if you can say so. And yes, the main character here, in my opinion, is the apple and the patchouli and the incense. It's very incensey, very smoky, so you do have to like that. But in my opinion, this makes it very oriental. To me, this is a very oriental fragrance. because of course you have the nutmeg, as I said, the saffron in here, you have the incense and the oud, so it cannot even get more oriental than that in my opinion. So like from the notes, I love the note structure. You do get a whiff of more or less everything. The vetiver is the next thing because I'm a big fan of vetiver, and you do get that, but also very much in the background. Like you do have to sniff and keep on like smelling and smelling, and then you kind of get the vetiver. But instantly when I smell this scent, I get patchouli and I get apple and oud and incense. These are like the four main characters, more or less. Then in the dry down, in my opinion, this fragrance gets amazing, like just stunning in the dry down. Like if you set it, let it sit for 1 hour, 1 to 2 hours, it just dries down to a beautiful vanilla kind of scent. You get the vanilla like just towards the end. You get the apple still. You get the incense, but it's very much in the background then. So the apple actually stays from the beginning to the end with the patchouli, but in the dry down, it gets a little bit more sweeter, softer, more refined. And I feel like all the notes, they're harmonized with each other a lot. It's like in the beginning they're fighting each other, and then they kind of dry down peacefully together. So if that makes sense to you, to me it does definitely make sense. So what else I wanted to talk about is definitely like, is it appropriate for men and for women? Yes, it's a unisex scent. I definitely see this one more on men, but I feel like to all the ladies out there that enjoy patchouli and oud, incensey fragrances, Middle Eastern fragrances, get this one. You're going to love it for sure. But this is definitely not a safe blind buy. Get it tested before you buy that, because I feel like there are fragrances out there that are like safe blind buys. This one is definitely not a safe blind buy. And when it comes to the lasting power, of course, MANCERA is a powerhouse, just like Montal. This fragrance is long lasting, and I mean, you probably cannot see, but like my hand is very oily, and I love that because usually when fragrances are very oily, they tend to be very potent and strong, and I love that. So it is long lasting. I get around 8 hours with strong projection in the first 2 hours, and then it kind of gets a little bit mediocre, but like mediocre in a case where it's still projecting enough, people will smell you. It actually is very like very strong. It can be a little bit overwhelming. And for example, I'm an oversprayer, but I feel like with 4 sprays, you're good like for the next 5 to 6 hours, and then I would recommend you to respray it. So this is the next point. What else I wanted to talk about is actually, is there a dupe for this fragrance? Because I was actually looking for dupes before I even tried this fragrance. And then I actually got myself a fragrance. And I've heard from many people that this is supposed to be very similar to red tobacco, but not exactly a dupe. And I have this fragrance here with me. I talked about the fragrance not so long time ago, actually. I feel like 2 months ago in a previous video, which is Noir by Pascal Morabito. This is a hidden gem, very inexpensive. You can get this one for around 15 to 20 euro. And let me tell you, there is a resemblance from around 70 to 80%, in my opinion. So they're very much in the same family, you know. You have a beautiful sprayer here as well, fine mist, and they're very similar. I feel like if you for example tried red tobacco and you think, okay, this is too intense, too strong, too masculine maybe, then I would recommend you this one here. This one is actually marketed towards women, but in my opinion this is unisex. From the note structure, they're very similar as well, because you have incense in here, you have wood in here, and you also have apple in here, which are more or less the main characters in red tobacco as well. This one is a little bit sweeter. This one is less complex, definitely softer, and not as long lasting. Like this fragrance gives me around 5 hours, and it's not really projecting a lot. But if you overspray, which I personally do most of the time, it's going to give you not beast mode, but it's going to give you a strong projection. It's going to leave a beautiful scent trail without being too overwhelming. This is really a compliment getter as well, especially for fall and winter, for the colder days. Like I don't think that this type of fragrances work great in the summer heat, but for colder days this is actually perfect. So this is actually everything. This is actually everything I wanted to talk about. I think I said everything that's very important to know if you're planning to buy this fragrance. Do I need it? Am I going to buy it? I don't think so, because I already have so many fragrances, and also fragrances with a similar DNA. but I think it's really worth it. It's a beautiful scent, definitely great quality. It is a strong, strong fragrance, perfect for the colder days. Definitely unisex, but a little bit more masculine leaning in my opinion, but still give it a try. The last thing I wanted to talk about is actually the layering combos. I layered this fragrance with Ebony Wood by Zara, which is an amazing scent to have. I love to use this fragrance and layer with other fragrances. And with Ebony Wood, it works perfectly because you have that spicy sweetness and it like that woodiness, which mixes perfectly with red tobacco. This is one layering combo I would suggest you to try. The other layering combo I actually really liked is with Tobacco Vanille by Tom Ford, because I had a tester, actually a really small one, and I thought, okay, let me just layer it. The layering combo was phenomenal, like really, because you have tobacco in both of the scents, but the one is more incensey and you have the oud in here. The other one is definitely sweeter and a little bit more spicier. It's going to give you Christmas vibes, and they just harmonize perfectly with each other. So yes, this is it. Thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in. As always, I'm super happy about that. And if you liked the video, please hit the like button, comment down below, tell me your thoughts if you've tried this fragrance. I would really love to know your thoughts on that. If you, for example, have any other dupe ideas. And yes, I hope to see you guys very soon for another review. Thank you.